This is Diana and welcome to Crafted Sweetly. In this video, I will show you various book folding techniques. I'll start off with the measure, mark, and fold. So for this video, instead of showing you the process of the book folding from the beginning with the measuring, the folding, the coloring, what I thought I would show you is different techniques for the various folds and then also the various ways to color once you are done with the cutting and folding. So I'll show you, the pattern that you get will indicate whether it's a measure, mark, and fold, whether it's a shadow fold or cut and fold or combi fold. So it'll indicate all that on your pattern. But I wanted to show you, once you have the pattern, what the process is. So your pattern will have different measurements on it. Generally, if it has just two markings, then that's a measure, mark, and fold. So I am using an Incra ruler, which I love because it's just really accurate. And I do have links below for all the various folds where they're more explained in more detail. So you'll have two markings for a measure, mark, and fold. So I did the two markings. And for this, you will fold this at 90 degrees. And I will use the line from the book so that I end up with a straight fold. And then once you fold it, then I'll use bone folder just to make sure that I have a crisp fold. And same thing on this side. All right, so this is your measure, mark, and fold, and you'll have one at the top and one at the bottom. Now what happens if your fold is, the two markings are really close? So let's say this is your first mark and then this is your second mark. Now your first one, we can do a 90-degree fold with no problem. So there's the 90-degree. This, unfortunately, you can't go up unless you were to cut the page. I don't like to do that, and I think you end up with a nice design even if it's not. So what I do is I take this corner and go in to the spine of the book. But first you need to make sure that the tip of this fold here is right in line with your marking. So there's the marking, and then this goes in as far as possible into the spine, and then you do the bone folder to make sure that you end up with a crisp page. So this is what my page will look like if I cannot do a 90-degree fold. This is still right at 90 degrees. Okay. When you do a shadow fold, there are some options. You can do with a shadow fold, and really with any folds, you can do what's called a 180 fold. And for that, you're actually folding every single page 180, and it's usually 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter in. What I use to do this fold is I use metal supporting rod from a hanging folder, and this is what I find that works best and gives me a crisp fold, or gives me, it's easier to fold it. You can use the clip from a plastic folder, but with this I find it easy because it almost creases it as I'm doing this. So I will use this metal piece to fold the page over it. Once I have it folded over, there we go, then I'll take this away, and you can use the bone folder just to crisp it up. So this is your 180 fold that you can do to bulk up the book. This really helps to give the book a little more, especially if you don't have that many pages, just to give it a little more bulk. Once you fold this, some patterns will have where this is called an inset, where you don't do anything to it. So this is left as is. Then you do another one that's going to have that same fold. So I'll fold this over. And then once you do the page, And again, this is just showing the technique, but usually I'll do about 20 pages at a time with the same technique. So once you have, you know, like 20 pages folded like this, then you can go ahead and measure, mark this page based on your pattern. So let's say for this we'll have one here, and this I don't usually do as a just a measure, mark and fold, because then the corners will be really bulked up. So this is more of a cut and fold. And for these, you'll always have an even number of markings on a page. If you end up with an odd number, you've missed a measure on there. So once you have this, then we need to cut all these markings. Okay, so we will cut the page. And this helps because you've already almost marked how far in you're going to cut this. Okay, so they're all even. Now for this, you can do the pattern either as an innie or as an outie, is what it's called. So if it's an innie, you're going to leave the first tab out, and then this goes in. Okay, so this stays out, this goes in. And again, I do like to use a bone folder just to make sure that I end up with crisp edges after I fold. Okay, so this would be the pattern if you're doing it as an innie. Now, if it's the other way around, this stays and you're actually folding these in. Okay, so at this point, your pattern is gonna be out, called an outie. Okay, and then you do this here. Okay, so this would be a cut and fold outie, and then I did a 180 fold on here just to bulk up the book. Again, you don't have to do that 180 fold, but it will help with the pattern. And you can check some of my other videos that explain the shadow fold or just the cut and fold. If you don't do the insets, so with this one I have where it's one is not cut and then this one is cut, and then your next one is going to be left just as a fold, and then only the following one gets cut and folded. Another technique you may see is a combi fold, and with the combi fold, it's a combination, that's the word combi, a combination of the measure, mark, and fold and the cut and fold. So with a combi fold, what we do is, let's say you have, I'll just put a bunch of random markings on the page. Did I do even? No, 2, 4, 6, 7. So I'll do one more since we need an even number of markings. So with combi fold, what we do is the first two are just folds, and then everything else we cut. So when you're cutting a combi fold, you never cut the first one and you never cut the last one. So it's going to be a cut here. And with something like this, since you're not doing a 180 fold on it, it's hard to kind of make sure that you're at the same distance. So what I have done is, you can see on my scissors, I did a little marking here at 0.5 centimeter, and I didn't actually follow that here because I just wanted to show you the technique, but to make sure that you don't go too far in, which can not give you, it would give you an image that is not quite as bold, because as you cut it, if these are too long, it'll just look funny. So it's better to have short cuts so that the image is just a bit above the rest of the pages. So you can use the marking on your scissors to make sure that you don't go too far in. And then when you place down, you go just the length that you've marked on your scissors here. But for now, just so that you can see the process a little easier, I do have deeper cuts. So again, I did not cut the first and last. So with this, I'm going to do the 90-degree fold, just like I did with the measure, mark, and fold. Okay, and you can use the line there to guide you to make sure that that's straight. And then for these, I would be folding in every other tab, so that way the image is inset. Okay, so this is what this looks like if you're doing a combi. The front, the top and the bottom are folded, and then these are cut and folded. Okay. You could do a combi fold with this, but if you were to do, you know, have this here and then just fold it into the line, this can get kind of bulky with a 180 fold. So what you can do is cut this part, but only the top portion of it. So if you notice, like this is cut all the way through here. Okay, for the part that you would just fold, I'm only cutting it to this first line. And then you would have to cut off this tab, which is a little more involved, but that way you can still do the 180 fold, and then you fold this over. Okay, so the same thing here. If you were to just fold this over, these can get bulky if you just fold it onto itself. So I would cut this right where the marking is, right there, and then cut off this tab, and then it's still just a single fold over. Okay, and then you can still have the 180 fold for the rest of your pattern and fold these in if you're doing this. Okay, and then there is your combi fold for that. So you have the folds here, and still sticking with the 180 fold by turning the pages over and then doing your innie there. As far as coloring options, you can use a marker, and generally I'll use a Sharpie because it's nice. It bleeds through the page, which helps so you don't have to necessarily color both sides of the page, unless you're doing a 180 fold. But I like using a Sharpie for that. Another option is using washi tape like this, and then the third option is using strips of colored cardstock. Okay, now you do want to use cardstock that does not have a white core, so that once you cut it and you're putting it in the book, you don't see the edge, which is white. You want this to be solid color. So let's say we're using the marker as the coloring. So what you'll do is, if you want to color the image and make sure that this stands out, I'll put a piece of cardstock underneath paper just so it doesn't bleed through the pages below, and then you're just going to take the marker and touch there, and as you can see, it did bleed through. So when you look at it this way, it's a little hard to tell with one page, but when you look at it, the color is all the way through. So once you have all the pages done, you know, you'll see the color, and it really does bring out the design. In some of my other videos, you'll see the image before it's colored and then what a difference it makes with it being colored. So now another example. Now you could certainly use a marker for when you do the 180 fold. Same idea, you're going to use the marker and color this area. Now as you notice with this, so I colored here. Now it did not color on this side. So what happens is when you look at it, you may end up with white spots. So with something like this, you do have to go back and color the other side, which is a little more time consuming. Now with a 180 fold, what I like to use is cardstock instead of using a marker, because it really has a very sharp, clean look to it. Okay, so that's where you would glue it, and then you would see this as the page. Multiple colors on a page. So what you need to do with the cardstock is you're going to put, if you're doing 3 different color tabs, you're going to put the first cardstock here, hide it under this tab, do the next color, hide it under this tab, and then this color. So this would be 3 colors, you know, if you choose to, for the tabs. So lots of options. Now with a measure, mark, and fold, which is just this, where you're just marking the page, you obviously can't use cardstock because there's no place to really insert this. You can't glue it, you know, so the best way to mark this, to color this, would be either a marker or using washi tape, which I think of all of those options, I prefer the marker because it's just much faster. Same here, you know, if I have this much length on a book, then I'll just color this whole strip with the marker. Now using washi tape, you do have to cut out whatever this distance is out of washi tape. So I would just cut this out, cut the length of it, and then once you have your piece of washi tape, then you have to glue this on here. So as you can see, this is pretty time consuming. If you have, you know, 10 tabs that you have to do this with, it can take a while to cut every single little tab, but this is certainly an option if you have the patience. So once you put the washi tape on your tab like this, okay, this is almost like coloring with the Sharpie on each side of your folded tab. Then you do need to go back and crease this to make sure that it stays put. Now, is this a little neater than with a marker? Sure, it can be. I mean, you can certainly be careful using a marker, but this is definitely a nice option to use if you do the washi tape. So I've cut out another one just to show you here. So you're putting down the washi tape on the tab that you have cut. And washi tape is repositionable, so that's no problem if you don't have it straight down from the beginning. But once you have it down, you know, just make sure it's glued, and you're gonna fold the tab over. So there you have, you know, washi tape option versus the marker. So it's the same idea as a marker, but you can glue, you know, glittery things and things like that to the page if you choose to. So that's using the washi tape. Of the 3 coloring techniques, which one do I prefer? It depends on which folding technique I'm using. I haven't really done the washi tape just because it's some of the designs I've done have a lot of tabs, and I don't want to sit and cut little 1mm pieces of washi tape. I find the marker the fastest. With the strips of paper, it's easy in a sense because you can cut out, you know, if you're doing a book that has inset pages, meaning pages that are folded with a 180 like this, but don't have a cut to them, and then only every other page has the folds in it, then it's really only half the number of pages you have in the book that you need strips of. So let's say you have a 400-page book, you cut out 200 strips of paper, and then you just glue in for all the pieces where the pages are folded. You're just gonna glue in the cardstock. So that can be pretty fast as well. But the Sharpie will have a very bold color to it. So with this video, I just wanted to show you basically the various options you have when you're folding the book. You can do a measure, mark, and fold, which is just 2 folds on a page. You can do the 180 fold, where you're folding the page over, and you can do this with, you're gonna do this with all the pages, but then as far as cutting, you can do every other, which is kind of, which has a shadow fold to it. This is the 180 fold, and then with the shadow. And then you have a combi fold where you're folding the top and the bottom, but then cutting and folding in between. And of course the color techniques will give you some options, whether you use washi tape, cardstock, or a marker. I hope this video was helpful in trying to decipher all the various options with the book folding. It is a fun hobby. It's relaxing as long as you're patient. And you can create some really unique designs and patterns using just these techniques. But it's really awesome to see the project once it's completed and how stunning it can be once you add color. If you have any questions, please comment below. I do get to all your questions and answer them in the comment section. If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, please share this video and please subscribe for other fun projects. Thanks so much for watching and see you next time.